A big hello and welcome back to the Lift Your Life podcast. I hope everyone, as always, is doing blooming exceptionally well. I hope everyone's had a great bank holiday weekend 2.0, 2 of 3 done. Like I mentioned in the last podcast, nothing has changed for me at all. It's just another week, but I've had a lovely weekend nevertheless. Some really nice bits and bobs with work. We had a really busy week last week with new starters joining the team, which has been incredible. And I had a lovely day out yesterday with my little sister. So all in all, a fantastic weekend. This morning, I've just been really busy with client check-ins. Monday is one of my client check-in days, and I always touch base with the other handful of my clients. And a very common theme that has become in these check-ins is just sort of emotions around the bank holidays and how they have been more social. They've had things going on. They've had barbecues and meals out and parties and things. And like a little bit of guilt kicking in, a little bit of negative emotions. And when it comes to socials, one thing that we are really passionate about at Lift Your Life coaching, my coaching, is same podcast name, Lift Your Life Everything. If you're watching the video, you can see my little hoodie, is that we want people to have a life. You know, the name of our brand is Lift Your Life. So it's all about, you know, what you do from a health and fitness perspective, adding to your life, not taking away. And if you enjoy being social and doing things with family and doing things with friends, then we want to ensure that you can do that. But there has to be some sort of change, because if you just go like all in and just go crazy at these events, like week on week on week, then you won't see fat loss or you won't see health progressions. And we're very aware of that. So how you navigate those comes down to two things: strategy and mindset. Last week, I talked a lot more about the actual strategy, but this week I want to talk about the mindset. So how you can enjoy bank holidays, how you can enjoy weekends, how you can enjoy socials without it ruining your progress at all. Because the mindset is the thing that is going to dictate the result. The clients who come to us who manage to shift their mindset are the ones who can't go and socialize as much as they were previously, but still see results week on week on week. So I want to share those with you today. There's about 5 or 6, and I just want to share them with you. And if you implement them, you work on them, you will still be able to see results whilst enjoying your weekends. So the first one and the biggest one is the language. And this is something I've talked about on a previous podcast episode before. I probably talked about on quite a few podcast episodes, to be fair. The words that we use influence our thoughts and perceptions, which influence our actions. So what do I mean by this? A lot of people will say things like, oh, I've been off track this weekend, or they'll say things like, oh, this weekend wasn't good, but now I'm back on it. And you see things in a very dichotomous way. So it's either this is good, this is bad, I'm on plan, I'm off plan, I'm on track, and I'm off track. And mentally, this makes a lot of sense, because if you tell yourself, well, if I tell myself I'm being on plan or I'm being on track, that's going to surely make me more focused and more disciplined to do it. But all it does is the flip. When you then have a weekend where you then label yourself as being bad, you've gone off plan, you've had bad food, you've had naughty food, you've had treats, you've had cheat days, you've gone off the bandwagon, all of these phrases which you may have said and thought are very, very harmless, all they do is make you feel bad about yourself, because it's like in your head, well, I have deferred from the plan and therefore I have not done a good thing. And when you get into that headspace of, well, I've already deferred from the plan, it's very easy to go down that slippery slope of, oh, well, I've already gone over my calories, so I might as well carry on. Oh, I've already ruined things this morning because I had something that was, you know, a bad food that I was trying to avoid, so I might as well just have another one. And then that's when that cascades into one small thing becoming a big thing. That's when you can have food guilt. That's when you can have negative emotions about these foods and these events. And ultimately, these events then become these very sort of binary categories. How social events should feel is they should feel very, very fluid into your weekly routine. Yes, you will understand and appreciate that you may have to make more decisions because you're not at home. You may understand that there may be an opportunity where you may go a little bit over your calories, but they shouldn't be this massive like black or white segregation between something that is allowed and good to something which is you're not really supposed to be doing, because you should be going to events, you should be socializing. Why are we telling ourselves that it's not a good thing, that it's off the bandwagon, that it's off plan? It's not off plan because it's part of the plan. If socializing and having a life is part of what you enjoy doing, then that is part of the plan. And it's not a case of going off plan, but understanding how you can navigate that into your plan and into your routine. So just question your language and what you're using. Are you using very, very, very bold statements? This or that, on plan, off the bandwagon, on it, good, bad food? All of these things which create this way of thinking. So that is the first one. The next one is to think big. Think bigger picture. A lot of the time I will tell my clients and tell you guys that I want you to stop thinking about the end goal and the end result. It's something that's discussed in one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits, which is actually about detaching from the goal and looking at the little day-to-day processes that you can focus on and put your energy and effort to, which amount to the end goal. But sometimes you actually do have to think about the end goal and the bigger picture. Because let's look at things right. Let's imagine you've been dieting consistently for like 2 months, right? 2 months of solid dieting, hitting your calorie deficit, or even less, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. You have one day where you've gone over your calories a little bit. In isolation, that can feel like the end of the world. It can feel frustrating. It can feel like, oh, I've gone off track, I've gone off calories. It's annoying. But if you actually look at that in the grand scheme as a percentage, as a ratio, that, my maths is terrible, so this is not going to be good. But if you've done that for like, let's say it was 50 days, because this is going to be easy maths, it's like 2% of something of the entire time. Is 2% going to derail you? Is 2% going to make you stop losing weight? Is 2% your progress ruined? Absolutely not. So why do we tell ourselves that it is? Zone out, look at it not in isolation, but the bigger picture. Because if every other day you've done your steps, you've done your cardio, you've hit your calories, you've been in your deficit, why is one little circumstance or situation when you've gone over a problem? It's not at all. It's really, really not. And when you can see it like that, that makes you feel a lot mentally better about these circumstances and situations. And as well as that, it's thinking about the actual stories that we tell ourselves when we do have this, like, oh, I've ruined my progress, I feel bad, I feel terrible. Sit down and question those thinking patterns. Why do you feel terrible? Why do you feel bad? Is it the end of the world? We often I can never say this word, catastrophize. We basically make it sound really bad, is what I'm trying to say there. Little things and make it, we feel like it's the end of the world. When in the grand scheme, it's like you had a burger and went over your calories by 200. It's like this. You went at a pizza and you were over your calories by 500. No one's died. No one's got hurt. That isn't like, you've not like signed up to something where you have to hit your calories 100% every single day, or you don't win £1 million. There's nothing like that. Just because you've gone a little bit over, it doesn't mean that things are derailed. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. However, when you create that story in your head and make yourself feel really, really bad about it and negative and guilty, that's going to then feed into self-sabotaging behaviors, because what that does is feeds any sort of self-limiting beliefs of, I can't do this, this is hard, this is challenging, and basically brings that thought to reality because you've basically told yourself that. And when those thoughts come to reality and you feel like that's true, you're then more likely to give up, quit, self-sabotage, because you just don't think that you can do it, or you think it is going to be too hard, it's too much of a hurdle to jump over. So again, just trying to reduce the noise that you create when you do go a little bit over your calories or don't track one day. Is it a big thing in the grand scheme? No. Is it going to stop you getting you from you where to want to be? Absolutely, absolutely not. It's only going to stop you getting you from you. There's my stumble of the podcast. It's only going to stop you getting you where you want to be if you continue to overeat. So I saw a beautiful quote today on Instagram. I can't remember where I saw it, and it says something along the lines of, I'm just reading it here, I've got little notes because I can't remember it. You don't drown falling in the ocean, you drown by staying there. And I thought that was very powerful. And it's literally what weekends are, or socials, or bank holidays. You don't fail your diet by going over your calories one day. You don't fail your diet by not tracking one day, or not going to the gym one day. You fail by letting that become 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, and letting that habit of not being on the program or following the protocols or ticking the boxes continue. That's where you drown. That's where things do then fall, quote unquote, off the bandwagon, or you drift away from the goal at hand. So remembering that the one event in isolation is not where you fuck up, it's what you do afterwards, and that is what has the impact. So just getting straight back to what you were doing, carrying on business as usual the next day, you will be absolutely fine. Number 3 is a bit of a psychology theory, so I'm very excited by this one, which is the law of diminishing returns. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this concept, the idea is that when we repeat a behavior, over time, the reward that we get from that behavior comes down. So, for example, Food is a really good example of this. So imagine one of your favorite, pizza's a really good one, right? Pizza's a really good example. You just ordered a pizza and you're really hungry and this amazing pizza comes out. Think how amazing that first bite is. It's like, oh my God, amazing, fantastic, loads of happy emotions. You're still enjoying it later on, but just think by about slice 5. Is that level of enjoyment the same as the first ever bite? It's not, is it? Your value and appreciation and enjoyment of something diminishes over time. So what is the point of this? Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because when it comes to weekends and socials, people tend to go overboard because they will have a food or they'll have a drink and they will get into their head that they need to just have loads of it. You know, I can't just have a little bit. I've got to go crazy. I've got to have all the alcohol and all the food. And the reality is that your third bowl of food, your fourth drink, you aren't going to get any more enjoyment or pleasure from that than the first one. And knowing that and understanding that will allow you to make better decisions and practice things in moderation. Because I used to be a very all or nothing thinker when I first got into fitness. I was like, right, I can't just have, if I go out for a meal, because I was like really sticking to a meal plan and on routine. And I was like, I can't just go out for a meal and have like a main. No, if I'm doing this, I'm having a main, I'm having a dessert, I'm having whatever the frick I want. And I would just eat like massive amounts of food till I felt uncomfortably full. And at first, in that first part, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is not chicken and rice. This is fantastic. But by like halfway through the meal, like there was no more additional enjoyment. And by pudding, as much as I love pudding, I was so full, I just didn't even enjoy it in the first instance. So remind yourself that you don't need to have things in excess. You can have things in moderation. And the enjoyment factor that you get from that is literally going to be like the same to if you had loads of it. The only difference is you're going to be closer and more aligned with your goals because you're probably going to be within your calories as a result. Numero 4 is all about planning and preparation. Now, we did talk about this one last week, and I guess you could argue this is more of a strategy. Yes, it is. And from a strategic perspective, if you plan ahead, you can potentially plan things into your calories. You can potentially plan when you can do things around it. So bank holiday weekend, if you were really busy that weekend and you would normally train over the weekend, you could have planned ahead to go, if I want to do mat sessions, I'm going to have to do them midweek, or I'm going to have to go in the morning before all the king celebrations and stuff kick off. So you know how to get things done. But what planning ahead actually also does is allow you to have that mental clarity that you're navigating that social the way that you want. So do you want to account for it? Do you want to fully track it? Do you appreciate that you want to have maintenance that week and just enjoy it? So you've got that mental clarity, but also it allows you to enjoy it so much more, because a lot of enjoyment in our life comes from the lead up to something rather than just the event itself. Think about Christmas as a bloody prime example, right? How exciting is Advent and the lead up and the Christmas markets and the Advent calendars and all that fun stuff. And then Christmas Day comes and it's a beautiful day. It's wonderful. But a lot of the excitement comes from the Advent. Think about an event when you're really excited, like a concert or a party or like a day trip. You get really excited on the lead up, don't you? In the car, like, oh, I can't wait. And then, you know, you enjoy the event, the social, whatever it is. But you've got so much pleasure from that lead up. It's the same with weekends and food. So planning ahead allows you to have that enjoyment of the occasion in the lead up to, and not miss out on that. About 50% studies have found of our enjoyment for things comes from that lead up process. So do plan ahead, not only for that clarity to stay potentially within your calories and align with your goals, but also just to enjoy it a lot more as well. And the last one, and probably a really big one for me and our values as a coaching company, is sustainability over speed. Because when it comes to socials, yes, you could literally take your Tupperware of chicken and rice. You could, skip all socials because you just want to stick to the plan and lose weight as quick as you possibly can, right? You could do that. That's probably going to get you there quicker. And I'm not going to deny that. However, if that approach is not aligned with you, if that approach makes you literally want to vomit, if that approach is not really something that you can do for the long haul, and let's say you've got, 20-30 pounds to lose, that's going to be a fair few months worth of work. If you've got more to lose, that could be coming up to a year. Are you going to be able to do that approach for the next year? I'm pretty confident most of you are going to go, absolutely not. No, not a chance. So with that in mind, think about sustainability over speed, because sustainable behaviors are ones that are going to lead to better results in the long term. The perfect plan, and I say this to people on consultation calls when I talk through our services and how it works, because they ask, what's the training plan look like? What's the diet plan look like? And I say, look, I can't give you the perfect diet and training program. I'll give you an example, because everyone's plans are different. I can give you the perfect plan on paper right now. I can tell you what is the most optimal training program for you and the optimal dieting strategy that's going to lose you weight the quickest. But if it doesn't align with you, if it doesn't suit your schedule, if you don't enjoy it, it's pretty useless. The perfect plan is the one that gets you towards your result, but you can stick with for the long haul. So remember that. If you are going to have the occasional weekend where you do go over your calories, if you're going to have nights out, you're going to have maybe some days where your nutritional balance isn't quite as aligned, you don't hit your protein targets some days and stuff like that. Yes, is it the most optimal? Is it maybe going to slow down your progress a little bit? Of course it is. But is it more sustainable? Is it more enjoyable? Is it something you can adhere to for longer term to get to that end result? Probably. So remind yourself of that. Don't feel bad for derailing. Don't feel bad that you've gone off plan or any of these stupid words that I was talking about earlier. Remember, it's part of the plan. And remember that this sustainability element is going to get you to that end result a lot faster, a hell of a lot faster. So I hope that's been helpful. Those are my mindset shifts for your weekends, how you can enjoy them, how you can still get the best results. And as always, if you have found any of these insightful, interesting, let me know. Send me a message over on Instagram. I do appreciate it when you guys do a screenshot and tag me in your stories on Instagram. That means a lot as well. Just obviously share the podcast and get that out there. If you have enjoyed it and you haven't already, I would really appreciate a little review on Apple, Spotify, because again, it just helps us out to grow. I don't get paid for doing these podcasts or anything like that, but I want to just get my message out there and help other people, and just little shares and tags and ratings. It's a few seconds of your time, but it really does go a long way, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to love you and leave you for this week. Have yourself a beautiful rest of your day. A lovely, 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 don't know what I'm going to say, next bank holiday. Yeah, next bank holiday. If you've already had the bank holiday by the time you listen to this, enjoy the next bank holiday that comes up in the year. And I'll catch you on next week's episode.